We're back with Invercargill City Mayor Nobby Clark. A couple of topics. Let's kick it off with the recycling. Obviously, people are chucking the wrong stuff in the recycling bins and causing havoc, but also the glass breaking on the way to the recycling centre.
Sure. So, a couple of issues. Government's announced in the last couple of days they're going to standardise recycling right across the country because there is a lack of uniformity. So what that basically means is they're going to introduce legislation before the next election, which will cover two areas. One, glass, the recycling of glass. They have yet to commit to the bottle and can exchange, which they were trialling. That's been put on hold. And the second thing they're talking about is food scraps. So if you nut that out, that means that instead of having 2 bins at the moment, we may end up with 4 bins. We won't have any choice about that. The government's going to mandate it. I think it's actually a good place to go, certainly with the glass. So the issue will then be, what do you do with glass? You don't want it into landfill, because everything you put into landfill is weight related. So the heavier the truck that goes out to dump it, the more you pay. That means the more the ratepayers pay. So you don't want heavy glass going out there. It's not good. So you want to try and recycle it. And we do have some options. But one of the obvious options that I'll be advocating for is that we have a glass foundry that has an ability to melt down and reuse glass in Christchurch. Now, the Christchurch people don't know I'm advocating for that yet. But we've got one in Auckland, but it's too expensive to get the glass to Auckland. So what we tend to do at the moment is just crush it up and look for opportunities to use it. And there are some options, but they're not as good as the options as we would like to have, I guess.
Because I thought they could mix the crushed glass into asphalt or and some roading products.
Yeah, they've done that before.
Yeah.
What's being advocated at the moment is that it gets crushed up so finely at the moment by the machine that you can use it to pack round pipes. The beauty of packing it around pipes potentially is that as the earth moves, it's got some flexibility, but it's flexible enough that if you get an earthquake, it doesn't burst all your pipes. So it packs well, but it does have some flexibility with it. Now, but it's just in its initial stages. But clearly government is making a standard. Look, some councils just put everything to landfill. How the hell does that ever be allowed by the Ministry for Environment? I mean, you would think that they'd be monitoring all this, but some councils are just allowed to do whatever they want to do. So it's clearly going to be a New Zealand-wide thing. They've said that there'll be consistency all the way through. We won't have a say in it. But I suspect we will have some costs. And I'm picking that you won't put your glass bin out. It won't go out every week. It might be once a fortnight, maybe once a month, depending on how big it is. But it is a problem at the moment. One, because it's weight if you put it to landfill. And secondly, if you put it in the recycling bin, which is where we ask people to put them at the moment, what happens is it breaks up as it's going back to the recycling centre. Those glass shards, they end up getting into your paper and into your cardboard, which means that we then can't sell it. The contamination rate needs to be 3 or 4%, and it's currently up around 15%. So it just means that the stuff that you can recycle just ends up having to go to landfill or something because you can't export it. It's got too much glass in it. So it is a national-wide problem. It really is.
And the other big topic is the age of voting. There's some talk dropping the age from 18 to 16.
Sure. So a couple of things with that. As with everything with government, very quick to say that they can vote locally at 16, but don't put that onto the national elections either. If government wants to be consistent on that, they should do both. They know it's going to be problematic for them to get that through. For me, I don't think it's a positive move for a local government. The mind is not mature enough at 16 to be doing it, and I think most 16-year-olds wouldn't care less anyway. Last time round, you look at how many candidates stood in our local body elections who were 18 to say 30, which is the range that I've been trying to engage with recently. You can count on one or two fingers how many people actually stand at that stage. They're more interested in jobs, their mortgages, what they're doing in their sports life, families. It tends to be older people that think more longer term, and that's what you need in local government. It's not just a reaction to do we have a glass bin or not have a glass bin. Local government's all about looking longer term.
I've always joked that the younger ones don't take notice or give a worry about rates or anything to do with council until they get their first rate bill when they become a homeowner. Then suddenly things change and they start taking a bit more notice.
Sure. So I guess that's the other big news that's coming out is where our rates are likely to be next year. Not confirmed yet. They need to be done through a more formal process, but it looks like we'll be about 5.5%, give or take a little bit. things can move quite quickly, which is great, because when we started out October last year, staff were telling us we'd be somewhere between 20 and 24%.
Yeah.
So I've done some canvassing across what other councils are doing, and looked nationally at rate increases in clusters of 4 to 6, 6 to 8, 8 to 10, and so on up. We're in the bottom cluster, so we're in a cluster with a few councils that are doing between 4 and 6%. Given that inflation is somewhere between 7 and 8%, that's a really good result for us. Part of it is that we've clawed back some expenditure. People say there's a lot more fat in the system. Well, it depends how much you want to cut it back. But we've taken millions of dollars out of our operating budget for next year. And we've also clawed back a couple of big projects, about $40 million worth. So that doesn't mean we save $40 million. Yep. It's like taking a $40 million mortgage. You've still got to pay the mortgage. Oh, yep. So you've got to pay the interest and whatever. So we've cut the cloth, and we get a bit of feedback about that. But like, we don't cut the reserve grasses quickly enough and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, we've got to balance out. We can't afford to have too much pain going on to our community. You know, I can't get by without stitching up Karen, her ladyship. Look, we went to Wellington this week, and while she's there, she happened to drop into a shop, as she does, that is a retail shop that's also in our Invercargill Central, a retail shop for jewellery. Relatively cost-effective jewellery, you know, 4 bits for $20 type thing. Yeah. And then when she came back and showed me what she'd bought, she realised that she'd bought 2 sets of earrings that she'd actually bought a month or 2 ago in the Invercargill Central shop as well. Only for me to find out today that shop's got a 60%, up to 60% discount on. So I just thought, when you're addicted, it doesn't matter where you get your fix, does it?
Poor Mrs. Mayor.
Yeah, no, not poor, definitely not poor.
And that's another 90 Seconds Plus with Invercargill City Mayor Nobby Clark. We've got 2 surveys, one the recycling, what to do with that, with the glass, and the other is age. Should it be lowered from 18 to 16 to vote? Until next week, see you later.